And the reason why I say that, and the reason why this tip is even on my list, is because family, 100% transparency, I definitely did that. Hey, fam. Where was I going with that? Hey family, welcome back. This is Ashley with ABAB Invest, and of course, welcome to my unconventional journey through real estate. If you don't know, now you know. I ultimately have been talking about, my real estate journey, of course, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. So if you saw the title, then you'll definitely know that this is basically my 5 don'ts of wholesaling. Now, with this particular video, family, I actually got this question on one of my lives on TikTok. Side note, if you don't follow me on TikTok, go ahead, hit that follow button. I do some funny stuff up there. Like, I be laughing. Other people be laughing. Anyway, it's like the Hot Pocket version of tips and tricks versus, like, YouTube is like the long form version of the tips and tricks. But anyways, if you saw the title, which I'm pretty sure you did, this is basically my 5 don'ts of wholesaling. Now, family, as we all know, the real estate game is highly fluid. Everything is basically negotiable. So I'm pretty sure, actually, I'm 100% sure there are definitely more don'ts than this list. But these are the don'ts that I at least have experience with, or some experience with, and that I wanted to go ahead and like put y'all on to, okay? So without further ado, let's get into number 1. And I actually wrote them down here just so that I wouldn't forget, because family, if you guys didn't know, I also have a podcast called My Unconventional Journey Through Real Estate, and I want to make sure everything is succinct and everything is unified and all that good stuff. But okay, so number 1, I have, don't partner, JV, or be mentored by people you don't trust or people you don't actually know. And I'm pretty sure that this is, common sense, but I wanted to go ahead and put that as my number 1 because, there are people out here that do not mean you well. And for example, we actually had somebody that, joined us in one of our lives the other day. And I felt so bad. But ultimately, she had a verbal deal with a quote unquote mentor. And, she had lined up, I want to say it was 3 different properties for them to actually, execute and close on. And it got all the way to the closing table. There was no written agreement or anything like that. And family, do you know what this mentor did? I'm pretty sure you know where I'm going with this. But ultimately, scammed this woman out of all the money that was supposed to be hers. They had some type of 70-30 or 50-50 type, verbal agreement, saying that if she was basically able to get the properties, under contract and, work with the sellers, things of that nature, then, he would show her the ropes, And first and foremost, and this actually goes outside of the real estate industry, you probably shouldn't do business with anybody that you don't know, don't trust. And then on top of that, but any type of business that you deal with, somebody outside of yourself, you need an agreement. You need some type of agreement. And in this case, an agreement would have been probably a JV agreement or a joint venture agreement, which explicitly states everybody's roles in this particular transaction for this particular property. But yeah, so when she was telling us this situation, and of course, family, I'm on live girl, do we need to pull up? Where you at? Where is this person at? Do we need to pull up? Because that's one thing that I cannot, is a complete hard stop, no go for me. You can't mess with my family, can't mess with my money. So like when she told me how big the deal was, she was saying that ultimately it was $25,000 that, you know, unfortunately, you know, she was scammed out of. Like she did the work and all that, and since there was no written agreement and it was only a verbal agreement, she got for that money. So that is definitely a numero uno. That's definitely number one. Like, do not do any deals, business, anything without a written agreement or with people that you don't know or trust. I don't care if they're saying that they're a mentor and have been a mentor for 15 years. People can still be shady. People still run scams. Like, and frankly, that something similar happened to me as well. Like, I want to say I spent like $1,500 on like trying to be mentored, and no type of education, money just gone, like just out. And that was on me. Like, you got people out here that are completely fine with scamming people. So that's numero uno. Don't do that, family. All right, number two. So you guys already know I mainly deal with wholesaling, the wholesaling strategy. I have done a seller financing deal, and frankly, for 2021, I may be looking into getting to rental, you know, properties and whatnot, but gotta build more money up first. But with this particular don't number two, I'm gonna say, be sure, family, be sure to have that clause in your purchase agreement that says and or assigns. So if you don't have the and or assign clause within your purchase agreement, you're not going to be able to assign it to an end buyer with your assignment agreement. So that's definitely, like, do that. So don't forget is what I'm saying. Don't forget to add that and or assign clause within your purchase agreement. All right, number three, and like I'm kind of like going out of order here, out of a little bit. But number three, I would like to say is don't argue with the seller. Like, if you have to do a whole bunch of rebuttals and a whole bunch of, you know, mind bending, like, you know, Jedi mind tricks and stuff like that with a particular seller, he or she is not motivated. The business of wholesaling and the wholesaling strategy is ultimately just a numbers game. If this particular individual that you're talking to is not a motivated seller, then it's time to move on. And I actually might make another video about, like, you know, motivated sellers, how to find motivated sellers, how to find leads, how to do this, how to, you know, actually, I'm gonna need to write that down. I might have to do that. All right, number four. So number four isn't really like a cookie cutter don't tip, but number four is basically dealing with the type of leads that you're getting. So just flat out, don't mess with pre-foreclosure leads if you don't actually have a way to help them out. And what I mean by that is, pre-foreclosure leads, yes, can be motivated sellers because obviously their house is about to go into foreclosure. They don't want to lose their property. Like, it's a dire, desperate situation for them. So they can be motivated. Now, you see a lot of times, and you often see a lot of wholesalers, probably babies wholesalers, you know, beginner, you know, wholesalers and whatnot, basically promising these pre-foreclosure leads the sun and the moon. And all the while, the numbers on the pre-foreclosure property just don't match up to a wholesale strategy type of deal, which ultimately gets the hopes up for whoever is in the dire crisis situation, whoever is about to be foreclosed on. So ultimately, if you don't have a way to help out a pre-foreclosure lead, like for example, you don't have the funds to try to help them with creative financing or doing some type of like seller financing type method, or the numbers don't match the strategy for a wholesale, being a wholesale, and you don't have an end buyer, or like it can go real left real quick. And then on top of that, because they're in a dire situation, when people are in a corner, they're likely to do some crazy stuff, family. Like, you never know what type of trouble you might get into dealing with pre-foreclosure liens, especially if you can't find them an out, because they're gonna try by any means necessary to get out of whatever situation that they're currently in. Okay, so the last one's kind of a fun one, kind of not, but it's kind of like a don't do it, don't do it. Do not, family, do not give your cash buyers the lockbox code to a vacant property. Like, I feel like I say that a lot of times, but I just want to really hone in as to why that's so important. So a lot of vacant properties that I've ran across, still have, property, like actual property items and things of that nature within the property itself. So ultimately, whenever you're doing like, I guess the equivalent to like a buyer's open, whenever you're showing the property, be sure that either yourself, or if you have a partner, your partner is there escorting the buyers around the property. Do not just give your buyers, your cash buyers, like the lockbox code to the property and you can't be there. So you give them the code, especially when there's still like stuff inside the property. Like, yeah. And the reason why I say that, and the reason why this tip is even on my list, is because, family, 100% transparency, I definitely did that. And I luckily did not pay the price for it, but I could have. So anyway, story time. So I closed the deal. It was a vacant property. The property was sitting vacant for like a really long time. The owner of the property was an antiquer. Like, he had like really expensive stuff, antiques, in the property because he owned his own antique shop, all that. He was a collector, all that. But he had stored most of his antiques when his store like closed down. He stored it in this house that was vacant for like a really long time. And of course, me, y'all know I have a 9-to-5. Granted, y'all also know I have a partner. I was talking to, one of my buyers. I'm thinking like everything was good, because by this time we had gotten the buyer like actually under contract. Like, the buyer was set to go. We were just waiting on closing. So he was just like, hey, Ashley, can I stop? The buyer was just like, hey, Ashley, can I stop by the house? I want to check a few things out, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm at work, I'm like, yeah, go ahead. This is the lockbox code. Family, big mistake. So when it came time to move the seller stuff out of the home, the kids, had been in the house, taking pictures of, what they wanted to keep, what their dad wanted to keep, things of that nature. Tell me why the family went back into the house and was basically like, hey, Ashley, we had taken pictures of what was important to us and what we wanted to keep, and we noticed that some of those things are not here. Excuse me, what? And then on top of that, what made it worse was it was Martin Luther King memorabilia, which, that has a price tag to it. And then on top of that, it was antique handguns. Excuse me, what? What? Oh my goodness. So, of course, the family is just like, Ashley, like, have you given out the key? Like, who else has the lockbox? Who else has the lockbox code to, this property? Caught. So ultimately, like, luckily we were still able to close, on the house. And they basically was just like, that's not what's up. Thank you for doing business with, our family. But obviously a handgun, antique handgun, and MLK memorabilia was missing from the house. And the crazy thing is, not even the crazy thing, good on their part actually, they had pictures. They were just like, well, we were in here, we took pictures, and they're no longer in the spot where we took the picture. Like, they're not here. So I say all that to say, I don't care who you are dealing with. And frankly, this kind of touches back on, bullet point number 1. People can be shady out here in these streets. People are shady in these streets. So you can't just give out that type of information, to your end buyer, regardless if you have them under contract. And just because you are of good character doesn't necessarily mean that they're of good character. Okay? All right, so this is kind of like, look at that, Okay, so this is kind of like a bonus, a bit of a bonus. It's not a don't, but it's more along the ways of like in always. So if you guys know me, then you know. Like, I always ask for a non-refundable earnest money deposit when I'm dealing with an end buyer. And family, this is absolutely key. When you're dealing with a true end buyer, please, please, please always ask for a non-refundable earnest money deposit to make sure that they are indeed a cash buyer. So, and the reason why I say this, and if you saw my other video, you could probably deduce or, conclude as to why. Because a lot of people out here are not necessarily cash buyers, and they're just other wholesalers trying to daisy chain your deal that you have under contract, which ultimately can make you look bad, especially if they mark up the price on the property, and you're over here talking to sellers or cash buyers and whatnot, and they're telling you hey, well, I just saw this property and it cost $158,000, but your property costs, the same property that you're telling me costs $155. It looks off. It's bad. Long story short, it's bad for business. Because for me, if I'm spending that type of money, if I'm dropping hundreds of thousands of dollars, I want to make sure I'm dealing with somebody reputable. I want to make sure that, we're speaking the same language. So it looks bad. And there's definitely a bunch of other reasons why daisy chaining is bad. Probably make another video about it. But ultimately, a lot of times, if you ask for a non-refundable earnest money deposit from a cash buyer, they will produce. Now, if they start, squirming and saying that they don't do it and it's not in their policy, that's a red flag that probably isn't a cash buyer. Okay? And it's probably another wholesaler trying to daisy chain your deal or who knows what. Okay? But anyway, so that was my last little tip. Always ask for a non-refundable earnest money deposit when you're dealing with cash buyers. All right, y'all. So that is what I have for my don'ts of wholesaling. I might even make another video to go further in depth of some of the don'ts. And of course, y'all got that little bit of bonus. Y'all got a bonus tip in there. And so yeah, that's definitely look, I'm gonna do how every other YouTuber does it. Hit like and subscribe so that you can be tracking and be aware of when I make new videos. And of course, hit the like button if this is the type of content you're trying to see, so I can produce more for ya. Yeah, see, look, I'm thinking about you right there. I see you on the couch. I know it. You on your phone right now? I know it. But anyway, until next time, I love you guys. I'm gonna be hitting up the lives if you guys are subscribed. Not necessarily, well, actually, if you guys are subscribed to my YouTube channel, that's great. If you guys are subscribed to my email distro, you'll know when I'm actually doing lives on TikTok. Lives and also new content, new podcast content. And side note, and all that is going to be in the description. So the link to Real Estate Resources, Misadventures Podcast, Unconventional Journey Through Real Estate Podcast, as well as, just overall, notifications as to when I'm doing everything and when I'm dropping stuff. The link is going to be in the description. And long story short, actually, I feel like at this point, it's long story long. Long story long, misadventures of a 9 to 5er. Like, we just dropped a new podcast. So, and it's dealing with our goals and how we all gonna be hustling in 2021. And come with me on this journey. Do it. Come. But anyway, y'all, I love y'all. Until next time, I'll talk to y'all later.